And here we are. Okay. How to connect as an observer on VATSIM. So, first, you'll be wanting to select your position. You can do that by going under Settings and Position. In Vatpac, when you first get your S2 rating, you will be training on Melbourne Tower in your sweatbox sessions. So you can do that. Select Radar Tower, then go down to Melbourne Tower. This will then change. There we are, Melbourne Tower. To connect the network, need to select Settings and Connection. Here this window will pop up. Call sign will be Melbourne Tower and your position will be selected to tower immediately. But what you want to do, because you're connecting as an observer, is to change your position to OBS. And you should also change your rating to OBS, just a general habit in which is good to practice. Now you can select your range all the way up to 300, but as a tower, you really won't need that. You could go maybe 50 miles, which would be acceptable for observing tower. You'd want to get rid of all this information because you won't be controlling on the network. And your call sign. So the way that we do things over in Vatpac is that you use your first two initials. So in this case, I will be using my initials, and then what you'll be doing is adding an underscore and then putting in that OBS, which is observing. This lets people know that you are practically an observer to the network. You can then go ahead and connect. There we are. Now, we can close that box. That error window always pops up. You can middle click. It will get rid of it. And instantly we can already see aircraft are here now. Now, couple controllers already online, and couple aircraft. So Melbourne Tower is online. His frequency is 120.5. But before we prime or we listen to his frequency, going to bring in the ATIS. There's the ATIS for Melbourne currently. We press refresh, it's information tango. And we will bring up the ground map. We can do that by selecting Windows and Ground. We'll pop up with this window. We can drag it across and we will select Melbourne. And there we are. There's the ground map. We can select the taxi lines. Always a good habit. And we can zoom in. How about that? There we are. We can see aircraft on final and aircraft on the ground. And because they're using runway 16s, yeah, he'll be landing on runway 16. Now, to listen to tower's frequency, you can, as an observer, you press Setup in your VATSYS box. Then you can press Add Frequency. In the call sign area, you can click on there, and you can select Melbourne Tower in the drop-down box. You can then press Add, and it will pop. The box will pop up here. So what you want to do is you then want to click on it and press Receive. This box will now become kind of like a pinkish color, and that means that the frequency is now active and you are listening to it. You can't press transmit because you can only do that after you hold a controller rating. That will then allow you to talk on the network, but for now, all you need is the receive button. Now it's a waiting game until an aircraft is ready because you have their flight tags. and you have your arrivals list. And a very important thing that many people make the mistake of when they are observing is do not press these blue buttons in the coordination panel. What this will do is it will go and it acts as a call line to a controller who is active on the network. The blue one means that when you press it, the other controller gets a ding and it will flash for them and it will show that you are calling them. It will allow you to talk to them directly. But as an observer, you shouldn't have to talk to a controller, as it will just annoy them in general.
Corner 694, vacated Juliet.
Qantas 694, taxi Alpha Tango to the bay.
Alpha Tango to the bay, Qantas 694.
Okay, and also as an observer, it can be very handy. If you want to see an aircraft, you can or if you want to move the tag, you can right click on that dot and it will allow you to drag the tag around. But you cannot edit it. An easy way is that if you want to see an aircraft, is if you go over to the departures list that pops up and you left click on their call sign. We'll come up with these options. If you press accept, won't do anything. But if you're interested in where they're going, you can press flight plan and it will bring up this window. This contains all the information of the aircraft. So Toll Freight 16 is call sign.
Melbourne Tower velocity 243, ready for taxi. Velocity 243, taxi Alpha Echo Papa holding point runway 27. Taxi Alpha Echo Papa holding point runway 27, velocity 243. Just a heads up also, velocity 243, I do have an aircraft, or was taxiing along Alpha, I don't know if he just disconnected. Copy that, we'll keep a look out.
As I was saying, your call sign Toll Freight 16 is over there at Melbourne. You can see the aircraft type and flight rules states whether he's IFR or VFR. In this case, the I stands for IFR. You can see his departures, Melbourne, and he's flying into Bankstown.
Melbourne Tower, good evening. Qantas 1701 for clearance to Sydney as filed IFR. We are at Bay 12.
Qantas 1701.
Qantas 1701, you're cleared Adelaide via Nevis planned route, runway 27, Nevis 7 departure. Climb by the SID 5000, squawk 4347, departures 123.75.
Sorry about that, Melbourne. We were in a bit of a deja vu from our last flight. It is to Adelaide. Nevis 7 departure. Sorry, can I get the runway again?
Runway 27.
Runway 27, cleared to Adelaide, Nevis 7, 4347 squawk, climb 5000 and 123.75 is our departures. 1701.
Qantas 1701.
There we are. So going over to Adelaide, his alternative airport is Avalon, not too far away, and he will be cruising at flight level 300. this flight plan. He's followed by Nevis, and his final waypoint will be Drina. Down here's information, but as an observer, you really won't need to understand any of this. If an aircraft has an unusual call sign, sometimes they do put their call sign in there, or they say if they're a new pilot, but often pilots won't touch this section. You've got your state, which says pre-active. Means that the controller hasn't activated the flight plan. Normally when an aircraft has received clearance,
Velocity 243, ready upon reaching Papa Home Point. Velocity 243, runway 27, be cleared, click takeoff. Clear for takeoff, runway 27, velocity 243.
normally when an aircraft has received its clearance, the controller will activate the flight plan. That allows the approach controller or the center controller above the tower controller to know that this aircraft is coming very shortly into their airspace, and it allows them to edit the tag. In the controlling sector, Melbourne departures north is currently the tag. That really isn't applicable in our situation as tower. Just shows who pretty much owns the tag at that point. Your SSR code is your squawk code. And these buttons here activate it. And there we are, the controller's just activated Qantas 1701's flight plan. And enter won't do anything. This is just the information you can see that has been given in his clearance. But it's pretty straightforward, very clearly set out. Now we can exit that. We'll see 243's now taking off runway 27. You can see that on the main radar, his icons now come alive, and you can drag him around. Once he becomes airborne, tower will most likely give him over to the center controller currently online. Normally after the aircraft has become airborne or reported airborne.
Velocity 243, contact departures, have a good flight. To departure, velocity 243, good night.
And there we are. Now that the velocity is airborne, his tag has now disappeared from our screen. That's because he's now with another controller. So his tag isn't relevant to us anymore, but we can still access his information. If we want to click on his call sign, we can press route. We can still see where he's going, which we can see Adelaide. Press on route again to get rid of it, or we can see his flight plan by clicking on it. That is the primary way that you will use if you wanted to find an aircraft after they've taken off as a tower. But he really won't be in much use. Now if we move on to our strips, this is the standard strips we use in Vatpac. They're very straightforward. The information that's all there is pretty much all that's required and necessary for you as a tower to give your clearances. If you want to expand the strip out, you can middle click on the aircraft's call sign using the mouse wheel on your mouse. Press it down and it will show you the rest of the waypoints. There we can see that it's got the estimated times for the waypoint based on what the pilot has put in as their estimated departure time. And at the same time below it, you have your estimated or computed altitude, so flight levels. So from 009, at the end of the runway, they're expected to be at about 900 feet. If we were to look at Dozel, that Jetstar 321 is expecting to be at flight level 249, which is practically flight level 250. That's only an estimate though. Those can change. Middle click again. So to read the tag, you can see that Jetstar 321, that's the call sign. It'll be the biggest writing on the tag. Directly beneath it is going to be the aircraft's call sign. Apologies, aircraft squawk code. For Jetstar 321, it's going to be 4744. These are automatically assigned by the client, so all you need to do is just press one button and it will do it for you. You can then see the aircraft's type, so Jetstar 321 is an A321 and their destination directly beneath it, which they are going to the Gold Coast. In the next column you will see your departure information. So the controller selects the departure runway and automatically the departure SID will pop up if it is applicable. So in this case, runway 27 is being used for departures which the controller has put in, and the aircraft is flying up to Gold Coast and they will be using the Dozel 1 departure. Next column, you have your flight level that the aircraft is filed. So flight level 350 is what Jetstar 321 wants to cruise at today. And beneath that is the initial climb altitude. So the controller will set normally 5,000 if they are a jet, or 3,000 if they are a propeller aircraft, or what we call a non-jet. And then you have the aircraft's route or individual waypoints along the route, which can be helpful if you want to see where an aircraft is going. So that's the tag. Very straightforward, and you just read off that to give your clearances. There's not much else to it. Very straightforward. And tower doesn't own any airspace, so you wouldn't be having any problems with having to vector or give instructions to aircraft without being instructed from a controller above you. However, I do say tower doesn't own any airspace. Technically it doesn't, in the unusual circumstances that we have on VATSIM.
Call Express 16, request taxi, information Tango. Call Express 16, taxi Alpha Echo to Papa holding point runway 27. Alpha Echo holding point Papa runway 27, Call Express 16.
On VATSIM, sometimes we do get the VFR aircraft who want to remain in the circuit at a major class Charlie aerodrome. So that is why some on VATSYS that this area is highlighted, that the tower, the aircraft in the circuit will just remain on tower's frequency after an airspace release has been given. That way, not much hassle, the tower still controls them, but ideally you'd be using tower view, which you can set up through your simulator. A quiet night at Melbourne. Toll Express, I think his call sign was, 16 is now pushing back. This blue dot shows that the aircraft is squawking mode Charlie. When you see the orange kind of diamond, it shows that the aircraft is squawking standby or not squawking Charlie. Helpful to be able to differentiate the two, because you'll see that the Toll Express, you can see where he's going now, and you've got his call sign there, whereas with the aircraft that aren't squawking Charlie, you can't see their call sign, and you don't have their aircraft type, so you can't identify them easily, unless you know
Melbourne
their
Tower,
badge number.
corner 1701, requesting push and start, please.
Corner 1701, will you be pushing back onto uniform?
A firm, we'll be pushing right onto uniform. Guessing pretty much Alpha and on the way out towards 27.
Thank you, push approved.
Push approved, 1701.
Alright, the controllers just made sure that the Qantas isn't
Corner
push back on the
1701,
express.
just beware traffic behind on Alpha.
There we are.
We see what looks like a TFX 16, traffic side.
Thank you.
Melbourne Tower, good evening. Jetstar 321 on stand Foxtrot 15, requesting IFI clearance to Coolangatta as per filed.
Jetstar 321, standby.
I think this guy's got his thing marked up.
Standing by 321.
Should be going to the Gold Coast, not Coolangatta.
G'day, Tower Climb 60003, ILS approach, runway 16.
Qantas 6003, runway 16, clear to land.
Once you clear land 6003.
Jetstar 321.
Jetstar 321, go ahead.
You're cleared to destination by docile planned route, runway 27, docile 1 departure, climb by the SID 5000, squawk 4744, departures 123.75.
Clear to destination via docile 1 departure, initial climb 5000, squawk 4744, departure frequency 123.75 for Jetstar 321.
Jetstar 321.
Yeah, Melbourne Tower, corner 1701, ready for taxi, please.
Qantas 1701, taxi Alpha Echo Papa holding point, runway 27.
Taxi Alpha Echo Papa holding point, runway 27, 1701.
And when an aircraft goes like this, and he's popped back online, it pretty much means that the aircraft client just dropped out and disconnected temporarily. Often they do respawn, sometimes they do disconnect.
Toll Express 16 ready. Toll Express 16, line up and wait, runway 27.
Line up and wait, runway 27, Toll Express 16.
Toll Express 16, immediate takeoff, runway 27, clear to takeoff.
Clear for immediate takeoff, runway 27, Toll Express 16.
Melbourne Tower, Jetstar 321, ready to push and start.
Jetstar 321, push approved.
Push approved, Jetstar 321.
Corner 6003, we're unsure find you just cleared someone to land.
Roger. You should be able to still clear it. Expect light clearance.
Yeah, you already gave us clearance, but we're expecting light clearance 6003.
Qantas 6003, apologies. Yeah, cancel clearance.
Ooh.
Melbourne Tower, NZ52 is established, runway 16.
New Zealand 52.
There we are, that controller. Cut it very fine.
Qantas 6003, runway 16, cleared to land.
16 clear to land 6003.
Call Express 16, contact departures, have a good flight.
Departure still Express 16, yeah.
New Zealand 52, minimum approach speed, please.
Minimum speed is 52.
There we are. I mean, he could have given... He probably could have fit the New Zealand 52 and the Qantas in at the same time without having to give the reduced minimum. But better to be safe than sorry, because look, he's vacated easily. And here's another function. Whenever somebody sends a message, or another controller, this messages box will light up bright yellow and it will give a little ding of flash.
Air New Zealand 52, runway 16, cleared to land.
Cleared to land, runway 16, NZ52.
Qantas 6003, vacate left, Golf for Bay Bravo 28.
Qantas 6003, contact ground 121.7.
21.76003.
So now ground's come online. If we click on controller, bring up the controller box. Melbourne ground. Most controllers say a little g'day, just let everybody know that they're online. It's helpful for controllers to know who's there and who's not. So now Melbourne ground is online. We have to set up his frequency. And because of the way it works top down, tower covers ground, which covers delivery. Melbourne tower is now just controlling the runways. Melbourne ground now controls ground and delivery. So we go into setup, add frequency. We can click on
Melbourne Tower, Qantas 1701, holding point Alpha 27.
We can add the frequency.
Qantas 1701, line up and wait, runway 27.
That way now we understand.
Line and wait, Melbourne ground, good evening.
Sometimes they do overlap each other though.
For Adelaide, request clearance as filed.
Focus 781, Melbourne ground, today clear to destination, Adelaide by the Nevis planned route, Nevis 7 departure, runway 27. Climb VATSIM to 5,000 feet, Scock 4556, departure frequency 123.75.
Melbourne Tower, Jetstar 321, ready to taxi runway 27.
Jetstar 321, contact ground 121.7.
Cleared Adelaide, flight plan route Nevis.
Contact ground 121.7, Jetstar 321.
Nevis 7 departure, initial 5,000, squawk 4556 and 123.75 on departure, Walker 781.
Walker 781.
Qantas 1701, runway 27, cleared to take off.
Clear for takeoff, runway 27, 1701. G'day.
New Zealand 52, contact ground 121.7.
Good evening, Melbourne. Ground, Jetstar 321 is ready to taxi runway 27.
Jetstar 321, Melbourne ground, good day. Taxi Golf Horse out of Alpha.
Melbourne ground, NZ 52.
752, Melbourne ground, good day. Do you have any preferred bay number?
No preference.
New Zealand 52, Roger. Taxi, we are Alpha Yankee to VATSYS.
Alpha to Yankee to Gateway NZ 52.
Melbourne ground, Jetstar 321. I didn't quite get the taxi instructions. The volume is right down. Can I just have that again, please?
Jetstar 321.
Contact departures. Thanks very much for your service. Catch you again.
Taxi via Golf, hold short. Didn't quite get the hold short part for Jetstar 321.
Jetstar 321, hold short of taxi via Alpha.
Hold short of taxi via Alpha for Jetstar 321.
All departing aircraft, their altitude initially assigned 5,000 at Melbourne for jets. Once he comes in contact with the next controller, he will be assigned higher, which is when you'll see their flight tag change. So 5,000 now. Shortly, you might see it go to flight level 240, which is your standard for Melbourne when an aircraft is climbing under approach, or center. Center's currently online, so he could also expect to go up to flight level 300 straight away if the controller's feeling generous, if that's a way to say it.
Melbourne ground, Jetstar 321, currently on Golf, holding short Alpha, runway 27.
Jetstar 321, thanks. Taxi right on Alpha via Echo, holding point Papa, runway 27.
Taxi right on Alpha, holding point Papa, runway 27 for Jetstar 321.
So this is how to set up observing, how to set up your client as an observer on VATSIM. And this will be primarily helpful when you are going for your first rating, which is either your S1 or S2 over in Vatpac. Now, these hours, you need a minimum of 20 hours for S2 controlling, observing, and for the new S1 rating that's coming in, I believe you need a minimum of 10 hours observing using the controller client. Now, just beware that they say meaningful observer hours. This means observing when a controller is online. A common mistake that many people make is that they see a controller on center, but not on tower, but because they're going for their tower or ground rating, they don't observe this controller. But it still counts as meaningful observer hours if a center is online, and they're covering a top-down service, because they still cover that aerodrome and provide all the services that a tower or ground would normally. And so they still count as meaningful observer hours. It only doesn't count as not meaningful when there is no traffic or controller online and you're just observing a
Melbourne
frequency that
ground,
is
Walker
inactive.
781 on a Golf 54 in receipt of Tango. Request push and start and confirm departures on 123.75.
Walker 781, affirmative departures from 123.75 and push approved. Brake check star 321, contact tower 120.5 today.
Push start approved and 123.75 is departures and contacting tower on 120.5. Walker 781.
Walker 781 negative, the tower call was not for you. Disregard that transmission, the jet star 321, the tower call was for you, contact tower 120.5 today.
Contact the tower on 123.5 for Jetstar 321. And good day.
120.5, just confirm.
123.5, sorry, 123.75.
Jetstar 321 negative, 120.2, correction, 120.5, 20.5.
120.5 for Jetstar 321. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Walker 781, push approved.
Push approved. Walker 781.
Okay, the ATIS has updated. It will normally turn yellow.
Melbourne Tower, Jetstar 321, holding short runway 27.
I'm going to put both frequencies to idle. Won't hear anything now. Whenever the ATIS updates, it will turn yellow. This helps to see that it has updated, to if you're interested in what the changes are specifically, because you have advised aircraft as a controller. You can see that next to whatever's changed, there will be a plus sign or a little cross. This helps you identify that the winds have changed and the clouds have changed height. All very helpful. And to acknowledge it, or for your reference, you can use the middle click again and it will turn back to red, as now I've just done. So that's it for today. Hope you now have a better understanding of how to get your hours up as an observer and how to connect to the network. Often the peak times are in the afternoons, or especially on weekends. So that's it. Enjoy.